Hello everyone, this is Ninja Girl, Sakura1 here, and it is time for another Yashahime Princess Half Demon review. This past weekend, we got episode 2 of season 2, Demon Spirit of the Sea. And, you know, while it was technically a filler episode, it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting mix of The Little Mermaid, the story of Medusa from Greek mythology, and one part of Japanese folklore, which I'll get into later in more detail. But yeah, just overall, not bad. It's technically filler, but it was good filler. So yeah. But let's get more into detail now, shall we? So, the episode begins with Setsuna having taken Totosai's words to heart. She knows that they really gotta get moving on finding what they need to stand a chance against Kiremaru. And the first step is to find Bokuseno. So Setsuna decides to set off on her own and start asking around to see if she can get any information. Unfortunately, she doesn't find any. Nobody seems to know where Bokuseno is or who he is. So, yeah. Meanwhile, we see Moroha with Jubei, and she's turning in some skeleton demon parts that she had gotten, and she's hoping, of course, for a large payout, but Jubei, being Jubei, pays her squat for it, which ticks her off. But it is what it is. And then we hear Moroha talk about how she's gonna help her cousins, and she wants to find Bokuseno. So yeah. And when Moroha mentions this, Jubei does kind of recognize the name, but he doesn't know where Bokuseno actually is. And yeah. Of course, Moroha's upset at this as well. But then he mentions he might know a demon that may know where he is. So that could be their lead. So Moroha asks, okay then, tell me who they are, I'll find them and get the information from them. Just tell me where to go. I'll do what I need to do. But Jubei's like, I don't know, this demon's pretty dangerous. I don't know if you can handle it, Moroha. She's like, come on, I'm Moroha the Demon Slayer, just tell me. So he does. And, yeah. He tells her that there's this snake demon who used to be benevolent. A very benevolent spirit, and very kind and protecting of the village nearby. And yeah, unfortunately, since then, this snake demon had now become fully corrupted and evil, and was attacking people. So, yeah. It spooks Moroha a little bit. But, nonetheless, she ends up catching up with Setsuna, and they decide to both go to this village together to look and see if they can find this sea snake demon. And hopefully get the information they need. So, yeah. When they arrive there, though, they don't even see this demon. They just see some people by the shoreline on the beach. And something strange does happen, though. When a young girl's headscarf is blown off by the wind, her mother panics and goes and grabs it immediately and decides to wrap it back up. Wrap up her daughter's hair. Which is strange to both Moroha and Setsuna. So, they end up asking why, and they explain, this demon has been attacking women with pretty long hair. So, to be safe when they go near the beach, they usually pin it up and keep it hidden. So yeah. And of course, Moroha and Setsuna find this strange and interesting. And they realize it must be the same demon, but why the demon's attacking people with pretty long hair, they don't know yet. So yeah. Meanwhile, Towa is worried about Setsuna going off on her own, especially because she can't be brought back to life again. But yeah, she ends up talking to Hisui and Kohaku, and yeah. They kind of also tell her about the demon they've been hearing about near the village, at the beach, and all that, who has been attacking people. So, figuring maybe that's where Moroha and Setsuna may have gone off to, she takes off Funkylala and heads their way. So yeah. And Moroha and Setsuna, meanwhile, still are waiting at the beach, hoping to come across this sea snake demon, but they still don't. But then, Moroha notices a nun struggling to carry her bags. They're filled with heavy stuff for some reason. And Moroha, being quarter demon, and very kind, she's a wonderful child, decides to offer to help. So yeah. And she carries her bags up the mountainside to her house. And to return her kindness, she does offer Moroha and Setsuna a meal. But this is when we get an inkling, if you didn't already, that this nun was quite suspicious. So yeah. But something sad that happens while Moroha and Setsuna are eating is Moroha mentions that she really doesn't have a happy memory. That's just so sad to me. Because, oh, if only she knew how much her mother and father loved her and treasured her. Because even the brief moments that we saw, like Kagome holding her, you know they did. Ugh, so that breaks my heart. But yeah. Either way, Setsuna then does sense something is wrong. And Moroha can kind of too. But then, this nun goes to grab Setsuna's hair and rips her hair tie, leaving her hair down. And, well, they put two and two together pretty quickly, if it wasn't obvious enough. So yeah. The nun was indeed the sea spirit, the snake demon, in disguise, and she attacks them. However, Moroha and Setsuna both realize that they cannot look at the sea demon, at the sea snake demon, because if they do, they will be turned to stone. There's a Gorgon, Greek mythology kind of influence there. So yeah, so they do their best to try and fight without looking. It doesn't work. Setsuna tries her Scourge of Swallows. Moroha tries her Crimson Dragon Wave. But because their eyes are closed, they both freaking miss. They try to use Takechiyo to block their vision so they don't see it. That doesn't work. And they're basically sitting ducks. They don't know what to do. But then, Moroha asks, okay, you know, what is causing you to do all this? What is causing you to even attack the women of the village who have long hair? And yeah. And that's when this sea snake demon starts to go more into her backstory, which is where we get the Little Mermaid influence from. I will explain. So, the reason she was attacking women with long, beautiful hair is because it reminded her of the long hair she once had, which would now become snakes. Yeah, Medusa. Kind of. So, yeah. And, yeah, she explains exactly what happened to her. She was a very peaceful demon. She was a guardian of that village. She would watch out for the fishermen who would come out to sea and fish and all that stuff, you know. If they were in trouble, she would help. And, yeah. She had her eyes on one of the fishermen. And one day, he actually did get into a bad accident on his boat. There was a storm, and yeah, he almost drowned, but she saved him and returned him to the village safe and sound. But she was head over heels for him, so she wanted to see him again. So to do so, she took the form of a sea snake. A normal looking snake. You know, not her actual demon form, but just a regular sea snake form. To try and see him again. So yeah. However, snakes were a bad omen for fishermen, so they immediately went on the attack. And what was worst of all is the fisherman she loved was the one who dealt the final blow. And that is what made her become hostile and evil. So yeah. Pretty sad, actually. So yeah. So now that they've heard the full story, Moroha and Setsuna still try to do their best to attack and try and avoid her gaze. But then, Setsuna's Naginata begins reacting. And her blood blade begins reacting a little bit. And she sees a red string. And she's like, oh, wait, am I supposed to cut this? Because her new Naginata can cut things that cannot be cut, according to Totosai. So she thinks, okay, that must be what I have to do. But then a voice says, don't cut it. So instead, she decides to follow it. She dives into the water and decides to follow it. So yeah. And it leads her to the statue of the fisherman that the woman loved. Because in retaliation, after she had been attacked, she did come back and turn all the fishermen in that village to stone that day. Or the day after, whatever. So yeah. But she finds the statue of the man that this sea snake woman loved, with the red string tied around his finger. And for those who don't know, that is the red thread of fate that you hear about in Japanese folklore, which the story is pretty simple. It basically means that everyone has a red string of fate tying them to the person they're meant to be with for the rest of their lives. It's kind of like the Paopu fruit promised in Kingdom Hearts, for those who know that. It's kind of like that. But yeah. So she decides to grab the statue, bring it back up to the surface, and the sea snake woman actually does see it and kind of stops in her tracks. And somehow, even though he's in a statue-like state, or is a statue at this point, the fisherman is able to say that he always loved her. And that he was sorry. So, yeah. Meanwhile, Towa had also arrived on the battlefield with the Demon Slayers and had her sunglasses, which is how she was able to still fight. You know, because mirror sunglasses reflected her gaze, so she wouldn't turn to stone like the rest of the people had. Anyway, but yeah. The man tells the sea snake demon that he had always loved her, and he was sorry. And that is enough to actually calm the sea snake woman down. And like in the Little Mermaid's actual fairy tale, not the Disney version, but the actual fairy tale, I think, I'd have to look again, but I'm pretty sure she turned into sea foam. Her spirit finally at peace and at rest. So, there you go, and that is where the story kind of ends. So, it was an interesting mix of several different pieces of fairy tales and folklore. I really liked that. So yeah. But the episode really ends with the girls being reunited, and Towa scolding Setsuna for going off on her own again, reminding her that, hey, you can't be revived again. Please, don't do that. And Setsuna's like, hey, I wanted to find out this information for you, because you can't keep fighting with a broken sword, you know? And Moroha played mediator. So, yeah. And that's where the episode really ends. It was, again, really good. I actually enjoyed it. It was technically filler because we didn't get any movement for the main story of finding Bokuseno or anything. But that was really good, and I liked it. I really did. Very, very good. So, yeah. Decent episode. Now, the next episode, it seems like we are getting some plot stuff, important stuff as well. The next episode is called The Silver Scale Curse, and from the episode preview and the images that have been released on Twitter, it seems like we are finally going to see what happened to Rin, how her and Zero ended up linked, why she had to be put inside the Tree of Ages to, I guess, keep her alive. Maybe how the dream butterfly ties into it all. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. I wish we could see Inuyasha and Kagome, but it seems like this is going to be focused on Rin, which is fine. That's fine. We do need that information. I'm just eager to see Moroha with Inuyasha and Kagome and see more of them together, you know. That's just me, though. So yeah, I definitely look forward to it. But I think that does it for this review. Again, in short, for a filler episode, technically, it was pretty good. I enjoyed the mix of the stories and folklore. Very interesting. And yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, share it around if you want. If you want to follow me on Twitter or support the channel on Patreon, I would be forever grateful. Both links will be in the video description below. And yeah, until episode 3 of season 2, I will see you guys later.